Welcome back to the Week 8 edition of the Thursday Night Tailgate. What we're going to do is take a look at the Week 8 matchups. Getting a little late, getting a little darker, getting a little colder. It is the Thursday Night Tailgate. We got a nice fire going in here in the background, and that'll keep us nice and warm while we get through Week 8's matchups. We got a Thursday night game this week, boys. We got Carson Long at Minersville, and boy, Minersville boys got to be excited about this. Carson Long, they do have a win, but they're struggling. Minersville got a shot to break into the win column.
Yeah, Thursday night game, only game in town. As Minersville, you got to be really excited about this. You know, you're 0 for the season right now. You got to get this one. You know, you got to get rid of that 0 in the win column. And this Thursday night game, no better way to do it than, you know, the only game in town.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thursday night games are really exciting. You guys were a part of them at PV. TV 13 started that, I guess, and you guys were the first ones to agree to it. It was against Lehighton years ago, and man, that was a great time because PV's playing Lehighton, but Palmerton kids were there, and Jim Thorpe kids were there, and Tamaqua kids were there, and Marian kids were there, and maybe, I don't know, the situation, it's not going to be as big because, they're far away schools, and they're not
the implications, yeah.
But nonetheless, man, that's pretty cool to be the only one in town. I love it. We mentioned earlier, maybe if all schools can work that in, maybe one Thursday game a year, it's just a cool environment. So, in Minersville, we've been saying all year long, the schedule's going to get better. It never really did because the league is so balanced, but now's your chance. There's a team that you might be favored against. Then you go against a Tamaqua that's up and down, and then you go against Panther Valley, which is, certainly in your league that as far as competition. So those kids got to be excited going into this week.
Yeah, and we're Anthracite Football League show. We're pulling for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Heffron's back, and I know you played a little bit last week, and we hope you're healthy Thursday night, tonight if you're watching this Thursday night, and we hope you guys can break in a win column because you certainly deserve it.
Absolutely.
Moving on, Blue Mountain has a chance to even out their record of 4-4. They're at home against Kutztown. Kutztown undergoing a coaching change. Don't have a win yet this year. Blue Mountain playing better as of late. And coming off another big win last week against Schuylkill Valley, Blue Mountain has a chance to be 4-4 after this week. And boy, talking playoffs.
Yeah, you look at it, Blue Mountain kind of reminds me of Marian a little bit. Marian is 0-3, they were 1-4. Mm-hmm. Now they won 2 in a row. They should get number 3 here. They're going to get back to 500, make themselves 4-4, and then, hey, who knows from there? But, I mean, you start off 1-4, and playoffs are pretty dim, but right now they got a shot.
That's the thing. They got a probable win this week, and then they get to play 2 teams right now who are 4-3, who might become 5-3 and 6-3, and those are wins. In the whole thing, and I'm not going to try to explain how this works, but I know when you beat teams with wins, it's good for you, and that's a nice situation. A probable win, and then 2 high point getting possible victories, so they control their own destiny. Win out, maybe they don't make it, but at least they could say, hey, we went out and put ourselves in a position to be in playoff.
Right, and that's such a big part. We all know that from coaching. Playing a meaningful season up until the end. Obviously, you want to get in. But, boy, if you're preparing for that Week 10 game and you have a shot to get in, that means a lot. It really does. And at that point, all you can do is control what you're doing and hopefully you go out and take care of business and whatever else happens. And Blue Mountain's putting themselves in that position where that could be a possibility. Next, we got another non-league game, Lehighton at East Stroudsburg South. East Stroudsburg South 7-0, Lehighton 4-3. Chance for, you termed it a signature win?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're involved in a turnaround, early on you got to get the kids to believe. Then after that you got to get the parents to believe and the fans to believe, and the community to believe. And the only way to do that, and they've done it, Coach McCarroll's done everything right so far. All the talk is positive. They're getting the wins. But like we talked about earlier, they're getting the wins that they should get, and then they're not winning the ones that they not expected to win, and then there's a couple that went either way. The way to really make a signature win and start that true turnaround is to get one that nobody expects you to get. And let's face it, 7-0 East Stroudsburg South, but not a dominating 7-0. Certainly somebody that Lehighton can play with, especially with their defense. And they get this one, and that might be the one that, people say next year or later on this year or a couple years down the road, from then on, they were a really good team.
Yeah, and you look at the district standings, which we'll take a look at later. Lehighton's right in the mix, and AAA is extremely tight.
Absolutely.
And if they can get this win, that gives them a huge boost.
4A team.
4A team, 7-0.
Undefeated. Huge points.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
hey, go out there and get it done. You got a bus ride up there. Make sure you're focused on the bus. Get up there and take care of business. But this is one of those games, man. This is what you play for.
Yeah.
Such a huge opportunity.
Right. You get opportunities like this once in a while, man. This is it. You got to go out and you got to seize the opportunity.
And there's a South team averaging 27 points a game, but Lehighton's bread and butter is defense. So if they can neutralize that, who knows? We'll be talking about next week.
All right, next, Marian. Marian's got it rolling. Started off 0-3, now 4-3. They're going up to Shenandoah. Shenandoah's 1-6, but as we said, Shenandoah's got some playmakers, and this is a game where Marian certainly can't sit back and look past it. I really think, and I know I said this earlier, Panther Valley and Shenandoah, two teams looking at their weapons. They're teams that I think by the end of the year they're going to pull off a big upset. Yeah. I don't think teams can overlook them, and I think Marian. They got things rolling, and this could be a bit of a trap game because I think Shenandoah's got the ability to beat some of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, go ahead. You got.
I'm saying Shenandoah has the athletes to throw the ball. I mean, you look at PV last week; they threw for over 300 yards. They got a young quarterback, but they got Meskornik, they got Herb, and they got Marnell, who are all playmakers. And I mean, secondary-wise, Marian, they're going to be put to the test this week. So, if you're going to Shenandoah against a team who's going to throw the ball, anything can happen, especially at Shenandoah. I mean, turnovers, penalties, that's all a huge part of the game, but anything can happen.
Yep. And let's face it, we haven't seen Marian yet without Lucas Damien, truly. They got Minersville's down this year and they're young, so they got to have a game without him, but we haven't seen him in a battle. In all of their battles this year, Lucas Damien came up big.
Yes.
If they're in a close game this week and they don't have Lucas to rely on. Now, we did talk about Auguste stepping up, and we did talk about some other guys. But, man, I'll tell you what, I really think, like you said, Shenandoah and PV can beat anyone on any given night. They're not going to win a whole lot of games this year, but when they put it together for one night, they can beat them. And we need to see what Marian really is without, some of their best kids.
Next, we got Tamaqua at Panther Valley. Tamaqua, boy, they just really played a fantastic game at Haven. PV got to be feeling good coming off that homecoming win against Shenandoah. It is at Panther Valley, and boy, interesting matchup. Big rivalry game. What do you make of this one? A big game for both teams for different reasons. PV obviously wants to finish on a high note and get as many W's as they can. Tamaqua, they have their work cut out for them as far as playoffs go, specifically districts. But with Hope playing the way he is, boy, they could really play with anybody at this point.
Yeah, years ago, you used to be able to look at it and say, okay, if we beat these teams and they have this many wins and they're in this classification, we're going to get this many points. And we can jump this team and this team. Now with the new district rating system, I have no idea how that works. So if you're in Tamaqua's situation, the only thing you do is just keep winning.
Yep.
Keep going out on Friday night, win your games, and hey, let the chips fall where they may. But Panther Valley, on the other hand, hey, they got a big win last week against Shenandoah at home. They're home again this week. This is a rivalry game. Tamaqua's had their number the last couple of years, but anything can happen. Tamaqua's one of those teams that are up, they're down. They're up, they're down.
They really have been.
That's what I was going to talk about. Their inconsistency. We never know what we're going to get. They lose pretty handily to North Schuylkill. They come back and beat Haven, and week to week we're like, who is this Tamaqua team? Now, granted, they went through some major injuries. I mean, Vandermartin and Hope all year long. But for PV, like we said, a rivalry game. They got a pep rally scheduled, for tonight. This is one of those games. When we coached, we told them, listen, you're going to talk about this game for the rest of your life with the people on the other sidelines because you're probably going to know most of them for the rest of your life. And, you put it all together for one night. See what happens. And like we said, Nace and Ferryman are as good as any two in the league. They could go to distance at any time. PV to win, though, I think they need to get a couple other people involved, and we said the same thing last week, and that's what happened when they beat Shenandoah.
Yeah, you mentioned Nathan Ferryman, and the more the season goes on, and the more we see these teams play, and the more we see these athletes play, Kyle Ferryman to me is one of the top 3 or 4 players in the league overall. Offense, defense. I mean, the way he brings it night in and night out, game in and game out, for how much he's counted on. And in addition to the we all obviously talk about the offensive end, but boy, he's bringing on the defensive end as well. And it is impressive.
You know what about Kyle too? It just popped in my head now, but he's never played quarterback in his life before.
Yeah,
he's running the offense. He throws the ball. Now, granted, they're not a passing offense, but he still throws the ball. He's obviously doing what he's doing running. He's the team leader, and he's been thrust in that position this 1 year. And you know what I like about him? I got to talk to him earlier in the week, and I mentioned about how he's on pace to get 1,000 yards. He immediately told me he wants 1,300 because that's the PB school record for rushing. Dave Sloniker back in 1979, and that's what I love about Kyle. He's a competitor.
Yes,
he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to settle for 1,000 yards. He wants the school record, and sure enough, man, I'll tell you, if he's on your side, you like your chances.
Absolutely. All right, boy, big game. Schuylkill Haven, Jim Thorpe. Schuylkill Haven. We don't know if Fink's going to be back, but if he is, that makes them that much more dangerous. We know that. Schuylkill Haven's 4-3. Their backs are against the wall. Jim Thorpe right now 6-1, sitting pretty as far as the Anthracite League goes, but not AAA. Not districts. Jim Thorpe at 7-3 or 8-2, they're certainly not guaranteed a spot in districts. So this is a very, very big matchup this week. Haven at Thorpe. So what do you guys think of that one?
Coach Rosenberger's biggest thing right now is keeping these guys focused on the fact that they need to win still. Last week probably felt like some type of championship game to them. The 2 undefeated teams in the AFL. They come out with a win. They can win out and win the league. But like you said, if they stumble, they might find themselves maybe not winning the league, although that looks pretty, they need to win 1 or 2 to win the league. But if they don't win 2 out of the 3, and maybe not the 3, they're out of districts. So for all the euphoria of last weekend, if they don't finish the season out, they might be on the outside looking in, or playing in an Eastern Conference game that they don't want to play in. Right now, they want districts.
You look at Jim Thorpe, they have Haven, who is the preseason number 1, who right now is basically looking to get it going and save any shot they have of playoffs. They have Marian, who's won 4 in a row, who has, a game this week where they very well could be 5-0, 5 in a row. And then they got Lehighton, who... So, I mean, you talk about 3 tough games at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
And, like you said, they might have to win all of them to get into districts. So, they need to take 1 game at a time. And then on the other end of it, Haven, Tamaqua, and North Schuylkill are the top 3 teams in the coaches poll. All 3 teams are a mystery to me. I don't know what we're going to get week in and week out. I'm sure the coaches are thinking the same thing. Injuries have bit all of them a little bit. And it's just... one of those games, I really think this can go either way. For the fact that it's at Thorpe, you got to give Thorpe the edge again. But you never know. It's a Friday night, and they got to take care of business. They really do.
Is he making predictions now? He's giving Thorpe the edge? Because I don't want to get into that again.
Well, Jim Thorpe, you want predictions. You want Coach McGardle picking against.
Go ahead, take Haven.
I'm going with Haven.
Big game. And, we have co-games of the week. That's one of them.
By the way, Mike Mulderrick.
Yeah, well, Mike Mulderrick is one of my former defensive players of the week. He broke his ankle last week against Mahanoy. So that was probably the only bad thing that came out of the game for Thorpe. And you hate to see that.
Great kid, great, captain, a leader.
Yeah, and one thing I did like to see, with having our Twitter, Mason Evans. I don't know what happened there during the game, but he did send an apology. It didn't mean anything like that to happen during the play. So, it's nice to see when
sportsmanship. And
stuff happens. Yeah, it happens, and it's part of the game. These guys in the NFL, they're suing for this and that. You know what you're getting in for. There's a chance you're going to get hurt. You play the game and go from there.
Our other co-game of the week. Monty area at North Schuylkill. And Monty area, after losing that game to Jim Thorpe, this becomes a lot bigger for them than it did before that Jim Thorpe game. And North Schuylkill, I mean, boy, they can't afford to. They can't afford to be 4-4. That's unheard of. The last 7 years at North Schuylkill.
Yeah.
So this game's big. It's big for playoffs. It's big for Mahanoy area keeping their Anthracite Football League championship hopes alive. And this one's going to be very, very interesting. I'm curious to see how Mahanoy responds after that tough loss.
Yeah, it's funny. We as coaches, we're always thinking about the psyche of the kids, trying to convince them that they can win. And one big part of that is film and what you show them. I talked to Kyle Parambo. He's one of the assistants at Jim Thorpe last week. I talked to him, and he mentioned about how they didn't even show their kids, the Jim Thorpe players, the Mahanoy versus Carson Long film. They said we didn't want to show them a Mahanoy highlight film. Wally Hall and his staff want to show them last week, because now you could show the Mahanoy area is stoppable. I mean, they went from 52 points a game to nothing in a game. So right there, that's an advantage for North Schuylkill. The records, yeah, Mahanoy's record's better, but man, you can convince those kids that these kids can be stopped, and that's going to be big right there.
Yeah, this is one of those games where both teams are in a bounce back. Mahanoy lost a big one to Jim Thorpe, and then you had Mount Carmel beat North Schuylkill in the last couple seconds in a big rivalry loss. So you look at this and you're like, what team can really regroup? Because that's what it is. You got that loss, and then you got to regroup, and you got to go back out the next Friday and play a huge game. So this is a very interesting game.
Two big, very interesting matchups in the AFL coming up this
Pretty
Friday.
good storyline here too. Wally Hall returning to Mahanoy area.
Absolutely, boy. We didn't even get into that, but yeah, it really is. Looking at our district standings, I mean, boy, you look at some of the teams right now on the outside looking in. A lot of teams put their backs against the wall with huge games this week. It's going to go a long way in determining whether or not they have any postseason life. Right now, Haven and Marian both in the outside of single A. Right now, Tamaqua on the outside in 2A. And in AAA, Thorpe made a big move this week. But with some of these 3A teams playing bigger schools, you don't know how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, you look at Marian and Haven starting in single A. They both have Thorpe on their schedule here. So single A school playing AAA Thorpe with 6-1 record right now.
Yep.
If either one of those teams down the road here can knock off Thorpe, that has to be huge points, in the single A race there.
It's got to drive you nuts, though. And I don't want to be an Anthracite 9 homer here, but you got Pius sitting there. Pius got a cakewalk of a schedule to finish out the year. They got Nativity, they got Carson Long, and they got Columbia, Montour, Votech. What you just said might happen with Haven or Marian, and they might be on the outside looking in because of that. And I just I think it's terrible. Columbia, Montour, Votech is AAA.
Yep.
And let's face it, they are what they are every year. And it's early, and maybe that won't happen. But man, that's kind of get me riled up a little bit this early.
You're right. When you look at the playoff possibilities, where your eyes go in single A right to Pius and right to their remaining schedule, and you look at that schedule, and then you look at what the Anthracite teams need to play in their remaining schedule, and it'd be sad if they get left out with the same record based on Pius beating those teams at the end of the year. I mean, it is what it is. It's hard to sugarcoat that. Their schedules aren't close, and they're not even close.
I'm curious to see how it is too, though, because you're talking about Columbia Montour being AAA. Lehighton just beat a Quad A Allen school.
Yep.
And they dropped from 3rd to 5th.
Because of Allen's lack of wins.
Exactly. So
you need to win.
It's maybe the system is better, but we just don't understand it yet. I don't know. But, it's hard not to look ahead to that Lehighton Jim Thorpe game week 10.
Yes. So
because right now it's 3 and 5.
Absolutely.
And
right now, if we had to predict it, we would say Week 10, Lehighton Thorpe, winners in, losers out.
I would think so.
Yeah, we would all predict that.
Because if you look at it right now, the difference between first place and 5th place in AAA is 0.06 of a point.
Yep.
So I mean, it's incredibly tight, and This is what he played the season for. I'm excited.
This is why it's the best time of the season, too.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
And the fire's going out. We're losing light.
Yeah, we
Fire's
lost our
going
light.
out. We're losing light. As we mentioned numerous times, it's a low-budget operation. Hopefully you can see us. I'm sure you can hear us. Hopefully you can see us right now. But we obviously got to wrap things up. And that's our Week 8 preview. Got a lot of exciting stuff going on. As always, feel free to hit us with any feedback, any suggestions, any comments. We always welcome that. We love hearing from you guys. And any closing thoughts for Week 8 preview?
It's the best time of the football season. I mean, we're going to open up the papers on Saturday morning and try to figure out our own little playoff, scenarios and stuff. And it's pretty cool. Great. Enjoy it. If you're playing in it, enjoy it. If you're a fan or a parent, enjoy it. It goes by quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're 0-7 right now or 7-0 right now. These Friday nights are limited. I don't care if you're a freshman or a senior. Before you know it, it's going to be gone. So enjoy it. Enjoy the atmosphere. Let it all out there. Play hard.
Good luck to all local teams out there. Most importantly, stay healthy. Wish all you guys that stay healthy, stay injury-free. Core Regional Football out.